What are financial experts telling you about your money? Welcome to the Five Guys podcast, where we unravel the mysteries of finance and empower you to take control of your financial journey. Today, we are diving deep into the realm of money, where it meets the mind. The psychology of money isn't just about the numbers, but it's about human behavior, emotions, and an intricate dance between our wallets and our minds.
Today, we are discussing the topic that bridges the world of finance, psychology, and making you question the traditional wisdom about money. We're drawing insights from the brilliant mind of the author Morgan Housel from The Psychology of Money. Ever wonder why people make strange decisions, especially during times of economic turbulence? Today, we're not just looking at charts and graphs, we're exploring the softer, more nuanced side of finances, the behavioral side.
Nice. You minored in behavioral stuff, psychology.
I actually majored in psychology.
You majored in it. Yes. Oh, dude, this is great. So buckle up as we navigate through the fascinating corridors of the human behavior, unraveling the secrets that shape our relationships with money. Get ready to rethink your way to wealth and investments and financial decisions. We are the Five Guys. I'm Dom. He's Chris. And let's get right into it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. I love that. So you're really the guy for this pod.
This was made for me. This pod was all about me.
Yep. You can tell who orchestrates which podcast. Like maybe next podcast it's like how to allocate more funds towards snacks and food. That's a Dom podcast. But psychology of money, that's a Chris podcast.
Yes.
I love it.
But this is really where I love to live, especially for my practice of Mons on Wealth. I think one of the things that separates me is that I'm not just focused on the charts and the graphs. I feel like so many advisors are just like, this is how much money I can guarantee I'm going to get you a return. First off, no one can guarantee a return.
Yeah.
So that's already a lie.
Run for the hills.
Yeah, run for the hills.
Yeah.
And they're going to focus all on the number side. But no one's going to focus on the nuance side of how you're going to interact with your money, how you feel about the things you have. Mm-hmm. Are you saving enough? What's even your goal? Because Dom is a bigger person than just a number in a bank account.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, you were substantially more than that. So it's very important that we work on these things. I think I've talked about it before, but when I used to have people pay me like $3,000-$4,000 to do financial plans for them, I'd make good money doing it, but then at the end of the day, my clients would never actually take action on that. Yeah. So I had to look into myself and figure out, what am I doing wrong here that these people are paying me and I'm delivering them what I assumed was good value, and traditionally it was good value. I gave them a full financial plan, but they weren't implementing it until I realized that there's more behind this than just having the right plan in place. You have to focus on your money psychology, your money mindset,
Definitely.
And the psychology of money before we can actually start to move forward. So I found that Morgan Housel's book, The Psychology of Money, was one of the best ways. When I first read it, it was like a light bulb came on and it was like, oh my goodness, I can show someone a chart till I'm blue in the face, but they're not going to understand it until their mind is ready to be opened and more susceptible. So today in the pod, we're going to be talking about Morgan Housel's book and using it as a framework to discuss how our audience and how we can look at life a little bit better, financially and monetarily with our minds.
Definitely. So who is this Morgan Housel? Is it ironic that Housel, it's I don't know, it's I feel like there's a financial joke in there somewhere.
I feel like you're reaching, but okay.
I'm reaching, but there's something there. A better joke writer than me, I'm sure, has come up with something. But who is this Morgan Housel?
Yeah, so he was an economist who actually worked for the Wall Street Journal. He now works for the Motley Fool as a writer. I'm not sure if you've heard of the
I've
Motley
heard of
Fool.
it, yeah. Yep. They've been blowing up my inbox since 2018.
Yeah, they have some really good stuff. But so he was just a writer for them for a really long time. And then in 2008, after witnessing the crash, everyone knew exactly what to do when there's a stock market crash, right? We've had financial people saying this forever. Stock market is crashing. You're going to want to buy more. You don't want to sell. You want to just stick to the path. And what happens whenever there is an emergency? Everyone on this podcast experienced COVID.
Yeah.
So while we might be able to say these things and this is what I'm going to do in a downturn, we don't really know who we are during this situation. Mm-hmm. So Morgan, after watching 2008 happen, he decided what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a book on all of these things that I have witnessed and watched, especially being a writer for these last blank number of years. And what can I do to teach people about their behavioral side before, the next crash comes along? Because I think, again, to my business as well, focusing on that side, it's more squishy. There's not really a right answer or a wrong answer. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's actually going to move the needle for your clients and for individuals.
Interesting. So getting into the thick of it, what can we learn from this person? Because I know we have a lot to talk about today. We have multiple segments we're going to go over. But where do you want to start with that?
I think the first thing to start off, we were probably going to go into like what is ultimate wealth. But before we go into that, I think it would be remiss if we didn't talk about like why this isn't normally spoken about.
Okay.
So when I went to college and when all of us goes to school, we are taught to learn in order to gear for a test, in order to pass a test at the end of the day.
Sure.
And this is really where traditional finance and traditional education really fails us when it comes to money. Because again, we're focusing on the charts and the formulas and remembering some specific thing.
Very enclosed metric data rather than real world possibilities.
Yeah, because when you think about it, like what's the ultimate, I mentioned it a few times, what's the ultimate thing that's going to like bring you wealth? It's spending less than you make and like probably finding a good partner to share your life with.
Yeah.
But like being able to quantify like what is a good partner to you, that's an impossible question. I can never give you a good test and say like, Dominic, you're here, fill this out and I got you.
Yeah.
But I can gear you the test towards like what's the right metric for how you do a PE ratio, or like what's a good Sharpe ratio. All that stuff makes sense, but the actual dollars and cents, the nuances of individuals, that's where the gap in our financial education I think comes in. Definitely. So that's where this book and hopefully like myself while working with clients and you listening to the pod here today is going to be able to help to bridge that gap for you to understand that there is something there between your money and your mindset. They're not two separate things.
No, not at all. I mean, it's about one of the most important relationships you can have with yourself.
Oh yeah.
Is how you manage your money. You just can't manage your money, then, well, you can't buy food. You can't buy water. You can't, have nice things. You can't even live. So I think it's very important that the psychology of money or the money mindset that you talk about, I love that. I feel like we should coin that somewhere.
Register trademark.
Register trademark. Fine, guys. Money mindset. I love that. I think, you go to the gym, I go to the gym. We train ourselves in multiple different areas, but I think it would be remiss if we didn't also train our money mindset and, imply and use the tools that we're being taught to us and that we're teaching now. And I love that. I love that. So getting onto it, we have to talk about wealth and our ultimate wealth. What's your ultimate wealth? Because I feel like it's very similar to mine.
Yeah. So I think for me, ultimate wealth is having full autonomy of the choices that I get to make in life. Definitely. Even if that means at the end of the day, I wake up at 4 a.m. and I get to go and cold plunge and do all this crap that I'm subjecting myself to.
Yeah.
Like even if at the end of the day, I decide to wake up and work, I have that ultimate decision. And I think the biggest thing is so many people think that like financial independence means that I get to retire on an island and I get to sip pina coladas all day and, just drink and have fun.
Yeah.
And that sounds great.
Yeah.
But most people are never going to be able to attain that, even if they work their entire life. But what you can do is come to a point in life where money is not the main motivator of life. Living life and having fun or whatever it is for you, that's the main motivator, and money just happens to help to supplement that.
Yeah. Dude, it's funny, when you said that, like just sitting on a beach, and I'm just like, dang, like that is just, it gets boring after a while.
I've done it. It's super fun. Like,
it's fun.
But it's fun for like 2 weeks. And then after that, you're like, I need to do something. Like, I need to do something with my life.
To retire is to expire. You got to have purpose in life. Whether that's to live for your kids, for your grandkids, for yourself, for your spouse, for your God, or for whatever you do. It's like, you got to have purpose.
Yep. Yeah, you got to have faith that things are going to get better and that you're growing, you're learning, you're trying to reach this ultimate level of yourself. And unfortunately, sitting on a beach or just playing backgammon all day isn't really going to get you to where you want to go.
And buying possessions, that's like a quick joy. That's like a quick dopamine spike, right?
Yeah, I think that's one of the hardest things because I always say like you're purchasing something. So either you can purchase this item from Target or from wherever, or you can purchase your financial freedom.
Yes.
And while the financial freedom may be a bigger purchase, may take longer, it's the one thing that I know of that will give you sustained joy. We all know that possessions that are material, they're very ephemeral. Like they give you momentary joy. And I think we've all been in that trap. I know I certainly have, where you purchase something and you're like, oh man, once I have this, like once I have my chain, once I have my new sunglasses, once I get my new shoes, whatever it is, I'm going to feel complete. Yeah. And you get that from Amazon. You open the door, you're like, oh man, it made it. You open up that package and you're like, I feel so good. Put on your new kicks, they look amazing. Yeah. 10 minutes later, you're like, damn it.
Yeah.
Back to baseline. And now you need another hit.
Yes. I find it so interesting. I feel like life is always testing you. It's always testing you, even on the rules and the things you're good at. So recently, I'm moving out. You know this, and I've got to furnish the place. I got to make it presentable. As much as it is a bachelor pad, it can't just be a plastic chair, one dish.
Yeah.
It's like
a frisbee dish.
A frisbee dish. Yeah. It's like I gotta make it look nice. I gotta make it look presentable. I also love interior design. It's one of my passions and stuff like that. But I found myself. It's like, well, how much money should I allot for couches and TVs and all these different things? And I was like, well, I could do this much here, this much there, this much there. And I was like, and then later I'll save for emergency, like all these like the stuff we talk about. And it's just like, no. You got to eat your vegetables first, then you can have dessert. You got to first save for yourself, make sure you're in a good financial position, and then you can go and ball out a little bit. Ball out, buy a couch.
Yeah, buy a couch. Yeah, I'm gonna go crazy.
Buy silverware, plates, chairs, stuff like that. That's balling out to me. But it's like life continues to test you, and you got to make sure that just because you followed a rule once, you got to follow the rule every time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's totally fine, even if because that was a personal decision. You made that choice that I'm going to save first and then make that. But even if you made the opposite decision and say I'm going to forego having the emergency savings right now in order to have the couch and have the things I want, that still wouldn't be a wrong decision. It's rational to you in this moment. And that's the difficult part of this. That's the part that we can never test it on, because what's rational to you based off of your history, your genetics, your backstory is going to be very different than what I decide to come across. I talked a lot about this past weekend with some friends of mine. We were saying, because they all grew up in a very different situation. They all grew up in very privileged situations, and I love that for them.
Good schools.
I wish nothing more, nothing less. But when we were talking about kind of economics and the psychology of money, really, I got to come to them from a very different place and like tell them like this is what it was like for me to grow up. And if you haven't listened to that podcast, I think it was our last one.
Yeah.
We talked about my story, and they were able to like hear like, oh, like there is a completely the perspective you have is the perspective you have, and it's nearly impossible to see another perspective.
Yeah.
So while it may seem irrational for you to buy a scratcher ticket, because that makes no sense, to someone who's truly in poverty and that gives them that one glimmer of hope, that makes complete sense. Rationally, it makes complete sense to them. And I've been there. I've been on both sides of the spectrum, so I get it.
Yeah. No, I think it's you got to be careful with material possessions. I think it's like that old adage, would you like rather cry in your Ferrari or be happy in your Corolla? It's like
I've never heard of that.
You've never heard of that one? Yeah, that's one that goes around in the entrepreneurial space. But it's like you can be happy at any time. Happiness is what you make it. It's not like you got to make happiness on your day-to-day schedule.
Yeah.
And I think it's part of finance that we don't talk about is making yourself happy with money. And for me, making myself happy is making sure that I can feed myself, making sure that I retire early and I make good financial decisions. And I reach that ultimate wealth, which for me, like you, is buying my time back and just being free.
Yeah.
Not being a slave to a boss or a company or a corporation. It's just, I just want to be my own person. Honestly, I just want to buy a house in the woods and maybe disappear.
Yeah. I just think it's so difficult because, into us, like genetically born into us is the desire to show the trappings of wealth, the peacock. Like
the peacock, exactly. That's exactly it.
It's a part of every single one of us. And until we're kind of willing to, and it's part of the game, it just is, but until we're willing to like look at that game and say, I don't want to play that game.
Yeah.
What else can I do? How can I focus on myself? There's really no way to get past that until you focus on, being me and being happy with what I have. And, the best ways to find joy through spending money is to, number one, purchase back your time.
Yep.
Number two, what was it? Purchase your time, help others. And I can't remember what the third one was, but something like that.
Yeah, no, it's, you almost have to be, and this isn't really a money thing, but I mean, it can be, but it's like, you shouldn't really care what other people think. You definitely shouldn't be, and I don't want to give rules. We don't do rules very often. We just guidelines and stuff. But how Chris and I have lived is we don't let anybody else dictate our happiness.
No.
We live for ourselves, and we live to take care of our family, our friends, all that fun stuff. And, if someone came into our life, I don't know who, but they came in, they started judging us. Like, why do you wake up at 4? Why do you cold plunge, Chris? Why do you do all this? Why do you do the pod? Why is it? It's like, I do it because I love it. You love it. We love it, and we don't care, if someone doesn't like it. We've gotten some comments on the page, and I have too. I remember one time, this is the first vlog I ever posted, daily vlog. he's just like ripped into me. He's laid into me. I'm like, damn, bro, the first vlog. I'm like, God damn, I'm showing my life here. You're just gonna tear into me. But it's like, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. We're gonna be okay. And just be yourself and don't worry about what other people think. Sometimes it's sad to think that, you might be the only friend in your friend group that's chasing financial freedom. Mm-hmm. And that's a tough pill to swallow. But you can encourage people all you want, but people make their own choices.
And that's where we talk a lot about like, maybe finding new friends. You don't have to get rid of your old friends.
You don't have to get rid of them.
But you can maybe try to find new friends because it will help you along that journey.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's get into segment 3, cash offers freedom.
Yep. Well, I mean,
we talked a little bit about it.
We already did, yeah.
We talked a little bit about it. The power of having cash on hand.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that cash gives you is it gives you optionality. Mm-hmm. Like now, most people say like, oh, I know I'm not supposed to have that much money in cash because it's a drag on my investments.
Yeah, it's not going against inflation.
Yeah, it's going against inflation and blah, 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 blah. And my financial advisor said this. And okay. And all of that might be logically correct.
Yeah.
But is that what's going to help you sleep at night? Is that what's best for you? Is it fair for me to have basically a year's worth of cash in this house and like in other things?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Probably not.
But it allows me to sleep at night. And as a financial advisor, I can still do that and say like, this is what's right for me. But if you just say like, oh, Chris, I only need 3 months. Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah. Life is a game.
Mm-hmm.
We can all play it differently. If you want to have more cash on hand, go for it. If you want to have it in a bank account, go for it. If you don't want to have cash on hand and you're like a doomsday prepper, you want
just bullets and canned food.
Bullets and canned food, then whatever helps you sleep at night.
Mm-hmm.
But the value of cash also in a down market is very important.
Yeah, and that's one of the hardest things, right? Because down markets, like these situations of like where we need cash, they usually only come around for like once every 10 years.
Yeah.
Like 2001 to 2008, 2008 to 2020. Yeah. Like they don't come around very often, but when they do come around, you are so glad that you have that money on hand.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at COVID and how long people were basically out of work for a lot of the world.
Yeah.
At that time, I was saying like 3 to 6 months. That's why mine increased from 6 months to a year because we saw that people were out of work for.
Yeah.
They're just gone, gone from the economy.
Yeah.
So, and that's the hard part is we talk a lot about this with the nuance of life. Here in America, we have a recession basically every 10 years. We have historically.
Historically, yeah.
But there's places like Australia where they haven't had a recession. Well, now they recently have, but as of like 2020, they hadn't had a recession in over 30 years.
That's impressive.
So for us to be like, well, we need to keep money on hand because of this, I'm in my 30s, you're in your 20s. I've seen 3 recessions, you've seen 2.
Yep.
For people who've grown up basically to my age of life, they'd never seen a recession. So why plan for that?
Yeah. Yeah.
It makes that's illogical.
And it's like there's so many things to think about. Mm-hmm. Why are you thinking about the next recession?
Yeah, that's completely. That hasn't been in 30 years. Like, of course, it's not going to happen. But then it does happen, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, why did no one tell me about this?"
Exactly. It's like I was too busy thinking about the Golden Bachelor.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't watch the Golden Bachelor.
I don't know what the whole Golden Bachelor is.
Yeah, we don't talk about that. But yeah. That's look it up, guys.
Yeah, but the cash is a stress reduction tool.
It definitely is.
It's not an investment in terms of bringing you more monetary things. It's an investment in your own happiness. It's an investment in sleeping well at night. It's an investment in your peace. Yeah. That's the way I look at cash.
100%. I don't think there's anything wrong with being a little cash heavy.
Yep, and it also gives you like the most important thing from like a FI standpoint, because we are the FI guys, is it gives you FU money.
That is true.
And like, I don't really like the term like FU money, but like, it is kind of fun to just be like deuces,
Yeah. Just be like, hey, you want to watch a movie this week? And be like, no, I'm going to Bora Bora this weekend. It's like, really? It's like, FU money.
But same with work, right?
Yeah.
And like, there's so many times that like your job tells you what you're going to do. And because you are dependent on them for a paycheck, and because you don't have a buffer, hey, Dom, I need you to work this weekend. Yeah. Like, but it's my mom's birthday. That's too bad. Like, you're working this weekend. Yeah. If you have a little bit of buffer, you can basically be like, all right, bye. Like, it's either this or this.
It gives you more room to negotiate and be like, well, I can find another job.
Yep.
Elsewhere.
I've had that multiple times when I've left jobs where they're like, you're going to leave. Like, I've left a company, and I told you about it, where I left a company car, I left my benefits, I left a very good pay in a corner office. Yeah. And they're like, why? Like, you can't do that. Like, no one else does that. And it's like, well, I can do that because I have enough of a safety net to do that. Yeah. And even other jobs where I've decided to leave, they're like, do you know who we are? Like, do you know what kind of opportunity you're leaving right now? And it's like, do you realize? But then I get to say, do you realize that I don't need you?
Yeah.
That like I
Yeah.
I have focused enough on having a less and being good with that I don't need to play your game and you can just leave.
Bingo. I love that. It's if the opportunity's not for you, then it's not for you.
That doesn't mean it's not right for somebody else, but
Yeah,
it's just not
exactly.
right for you.
Exactly. Know thyself. Know thyself. What's our next segment?
And it kind of leads into the next thing. The danger of the allure of more. That if I just got this next thing, but then that kind of leads you into that same trap of you can never escape that job that you hate because you need to get more things.
Yeah.
Yesterday, actually, when I was on a flight back from Mexico City, and my wife and I were sitting next to this very nice lady who is a physician. Her and her husband are physicians in Scottsdale. So I didn't talk to this lady because I was on the corner seat, but I heard my wife and her talking basically the whole 3.5 hour flight. They were just talking about stuff.
Side note, you had food poisoning as well.
Yeah, I was coming over.
You were
food
recovering
poisoning.
from it.
Yeah, I was coming over food
So
poisoning.
you're just like, come on, wifey,
I just want to
please.
watch my Dragon Ball Z.
Just put the headphones on. Let me just dial out.
Just die.
Yeah. Okay.
But she was talking a lot about, because, husband and wife physicians, they live in Scottsdale, in a very nice part of Scottsdale.
Yes. Scottsdale, for those who don't know, very ritzy area.
Yes.
Very nice, very expensive.
And she was telling my wife that she grew up in India. Her and her husband are Indian
beautiful.
kids. So she was telling my wife about her experiences growing up in India and the choices that she had to make to come here to America to be a physician. And now they're doing very well. But her concern is that her sons aren't growing up with with those hard times.
Yep.
So they're becoming very materialistic, where her and her husband are not materialistic based off of the experiences they've had in their life.
Yeah.
So she was telling my wife about how she's trying to build in lessons in these young men's life of how to teach them about how things are important. Because again, growing up in Scottsdale, some of these kids see their friends roll up in Maseratis, Ducatis, nice at
way too expensive cars.
Nice ass cars
For a high schooler.
Yeah, for a high schooler. And then she said her sons don't even drive, but then she drives a Kia Rio as a physician. And I'm sure they make good. I don't know what she makes, but
yeah,
a dual physician household. I'm sure they're making good money.
Yes.
But then they're just choosing to spend their money in other places, and that's their choice. Nothing's right or wrong, but that's the choice they have decided to make.
So I'm surprised you didn't lean over and be like, cold plunge.
Yeah,
cold plunge.
You can cold plunge. It can make you better. It'll make you a superhero.
I honestly I think. Would you make your son do cold plunge?
Oh, it wouldn't make my son do anything.
No. But what if he was too laid back, too chill, very materialistic, like her sons, and you needed to, like you do with your life, install some difficulties to build the grit and tame your mind, because when a son is living under your roof, it's very sheltered, it's very peaceful. But when you get out into the real world, it's not as peaceful and sheltered. Do you think you would?
So I have a lot of thoughts on this,
Yes.
but what it comes down to is imposed discipline. Anytime that discipline is imposed, you must do this, all people will rebel against it. And unfortunately, the opposite way. So you need to have internal discipline that I want to do these things, and maybe at one point it could, but I feel like the amount I'm going to hurt them by making them cold plunge will be
It's gonna be
severely
counteractive.
outweighed. Yeah, it's counteractive.
Okay.
So I think the best way, especially for parenthood, and again, not a parent, so don't listen to me for jack on this, but is to try to live your life in the best way and show your children through the way that you live that dad chooses to wake up at 4 and cold plunge, and then eventually the kid will be like, oh, I want to do that too.
Yeah.
I think that most kids want to emulate their parents.
For sure. And they do emulate them a lot of the times in everything, including finance.
Yep. And that, unfortunately, is a very double-edged sword, right? Unfortunately, it's usually for the side that cuts you worse than the good
Yes,
thing. All of us have grown up with not the best of situations when it comes to being taught about money, unless you did. And if you did, then great, you're in the minority.
Yeah.
Very far in the minority.
Very far in the minority. Yeah, and I agree. It's the allure of more is dangerous.
Yeah, it's so scary, and again, it's biologically, it's genetically built into us because we're trying to show other people the trappings of what we have, and the only way to really escape that is to basically say, I'm not going to play the game.
Yeah, become a minimalist.
Yeah, you don't have to become anything, but I'd rather focus on myself or focus on other things than trying to impress people that don't care about what I have because they're more focused on themselves anyways.
Yes, I agree.
That's one thing that I would teach. If there was a young person or a high school student, when you're in high school, when you're learning and you're growing, you think that anything that happens to you is the end of the world because everyone else noticed and they know.
Yeah.
But until you grow up and you realize that like no one else cares about you because everyone's focused on themselves and like not being that person.
Yeah. I definitely remember being in school and having like acne on my forehead.
Oh, yeah.
And being like, oh my God, everybody's looking at me. Oh my God.
Yeah, but everyone else is like, oh God, I have acne on my forehead.
Everybody else is going through the same exact thing. So it's just like, yeah, nobody cares.
Yep, no one cares.
Nobody cares.
No one cares. And even if yours is particularly bad, guess what? In like 5 years, it's going to be gone anyways.
Yeah.
Take some Accutane. I don't know.
Yeah, wash your face, get the oil off. Yeah. But yeah, no, be on your own path.
Be on your own path and focus more on your values than the things that you have. Because the things that you have, again, they're ephemeral. They're going to go away at some point. And at some point, too, there's another discussion, maybe we have another pod, that your objects begin to own you.
True.
And is that really what you want?
That's a scary place to be.
Yep.
Yeah, because you end up working for things that you don't really want to impress people you don't really care about.
Yeah.
And you're wasting your own life. And that's a sad place.
Yep. Or just thinking about like having, like, say you are the person that buys the new Bentley or the new Maserati or the new whatever. And now you have this car that you're afraid to drive because it's too expensive.
Yeah.
You know, and now you're like constantly like, I have to park way the hell over there so that no one's near it, or I have to valet every single time.
Yeah.
And you're just like focused on this one thing. And now you're not even enjoying driving anymore because you're like so concerned that someone's going to hit your car.
Yeah.
You know, that's why like my car it's a nice car. It's not an amazing car, but it's a nice car.
It's nice. It's nice.
But like if something was to happen to my car, I'd be upset, but it wouldn't be like the end of my life.
Yeah.
You know, that if I had a Maserati or something that I dropped buku bucks on, it probably would feel like that.
Buku bucks. I haven't heard that one in a long time.
Yeah.
Buku bucks. God, that's like a your generation thing.
Is it?
I think so.
Okay.
I haven't heard that one in mine yet.
Yeah, but
Maybe I'll bring it back.
maybe you will.
Maybe I will.
Yeah, comparison really is the thief of joy when it comes here. And when it comes to the allure of more.
Absolutely.
And you can choose to not play that game.
Yeah. I think let's opt out of that one.
Yeah, I mean, I would. But again, if someone decides that, like, no, my game is I need to have Chanel every day and I need to have all these things and I need to show everyone else how, like, rich I am, then okay, that's the game you want to play. But what are you sacrificing in order to play that game?
Yeah, absolutely. You might be sacrificing some savings.
Some savings.
Or some earnings.
Yep.
Into next segment. That was a terrible transition.
No,
but
transition.
transition. The next one. Savings versus earnings.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about how economic data illustrates that the challenges of individuals facing savings, especially in high-cost living environments, is really tough.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's so hard. And remember, like, the whole game comes down to, like, how much you make versus how much you spend is what is that driver to financial independence, what's going to get you to allow you to live the life where you really have control of your own time.
Yeah.
So, again, this kind of comes down to, do I want to play this game? Do I want to continue to live in this high-cost area, or am I willing to geo-arbitrage and move? Whatever decision you choose to make, that's totally fine. But just remember, there's always trade-offs in life.
100%. There always is. Yeah. Nothing, left and right. There's always trade-offs. It's just a weird thing of life.
Yeah, no, that is what it is, though. Yeah. It's like there is no I tell my clients this all the time. There is no silver bullet.
No.
There is nothing that's going to get you to financial independence and keep you there forever. Anyone that tells you they have the silver bullet, like, run away from them, because it all comes down to choices and making conscious decisions that's best for you. Because there is no one right answer.
No, but you can impact your spending habits, though, and that can play a big part in savings and earnings, right?
Yeah, 1,000,000%. So, again, it comes down to two parts of the equation: make more money, spend less money. Now, making more money for a lot of people is really difficult. I can't guarantee that I'm going to double what I did in the stock market tomorrow. I can't guarantee that I'm going to double my earnings if I work harder. But what I can guarantee is that if I eat out less, I'm going to save more. If I don't buy these new shoes, I'm going to eat out. I'm going to save more.
Yeah.
You can control that side of the ledger a lot easier, and they both are equal in terms of importance. And there is still a portion that you should maybe not cut, because if you're cutting too much, then you're sacrificing life.
Yeah.
But again, it's a game, and you have to play both sides of the coin.
Yeah, you're the general in your own army, and you got to make command decisions. Yep.
You're the general and the soldier.
Yep, the general and the soldier.
Yep, so you get to make the decision, but you also have to execute the decision.
That's it.
And that's where I think a lot of people fail.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I'm going to do this, but then when it actually comes, like, oh, I'm going to save money. That's the general speaking.
Yeah, it's very broad.
Yeah, very broad. I'm going to save money by not eating out. But then you also have to be the soldier and not eat out.
Yeah.
And that's where people fail a lot of the time.
Yeah, you fail to plan to fail. But a lot of people also try and fail when it comes to beating the market and trying to find that quick silver bullet, like you talked about, that easy, quick money. You found no way to get the easy money. it's always been hard work, slow, and it's like, could you talk a little bit
Yeah,
about that?
and there might be there are ways to like grow money quickly, but are they sustainable? No, I think we've both done day trading, and like we've both seen that like it is a good way to make money quickly. But there is a reason that if you look at the Forbes 100 richest people, not a single person on there is a day trader.
No.
Because when it comes to like finance and what I've learned is it's about staying in the game long enough.
Yes.
Long enough to win. And that's going to be another segment that we're going to talk about a little bit later. But when you are day trading, when you're trying to make that quick buck, every single decision you're making it's an all or nothing decision.
Yeah.
And the more times that you roll that die,
the more chance you could get wiped out.
yeah, the more chance you're going to get wiped out. The same thing of like playing Russian roulette. Like eventually, like
Eventually
that
the
game,
pullet's gonna count.
Yeah, eventually like that pullet's going to come up.
Yeah.
So they're trying to beat the market and trying to focus on, what kind of returns can you get from me? What kind of things can I do to make more money? If it's not sustainable, if it's not a sustainable thing that you can do indefinitely, then it's probably not the right one for you.
Yeah.
There's also a lot to talk about between luck and talent. So only in the stock market can you be lucky and actually do really, really well.
Yes.
Versus like in sports. In sports, it's very cut and dry, right?
Yes.
Like either you made the team or you didn't make the team, and it's based off of your talent that you brought in. But in stock picking, you could just be like, it could be just sheer dumb luck. You could have just happened to choose Amazon because you like the Amazon.
Yeah.
And that's it. It has nothing to do with anything. There have been people who have made a lot of money just by sheer dumb luck.
Yeah. Yeah. Or just following a tip from some guy who didn't know anything.
Yeah.
It just turned out well.
Look at here's a dumb one. During COVID, the stock for Corona, the beer, went up substantially because Corona was being spoken so many that a bunch of algorithms saw Corona and then assumed that they were talking about the beer company, and then it like pumped that stock up. Now, if you were lucky enough to just buy Corona because you had a Corona one night and it's like, I like this, and then it went up 20% for circumstances completely outside of yourself, you might think, I'm a genius. Everything that I touch turns to gold.
Yeah.
And only 10% of people beat the market, but every single person thinks that they're in the 10%.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. I think every time, everybody goes in stages where it's like, you want to make money quick, and then you try, and you get a little bit of luck, and you get a little bit of, a little bit of success, but improper risk management and bad tools and no experience and a lot of all bad factors just kick in, and it's just like they're always against you. So, yeah, it's better just to be smart with your money.
Yeah.
And if you do make quick money, cash out of the casino and invest in the long term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But sometimes there are people that like they need that little hit, right? Like I need to do my day trade, I need to do that thing. And for that, like if I have clients like that, and I say, okay, let's take 20 to 30% of it. You do your thing.
Yeah.
And let's do a little bit of like long-term investing too.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's any way to ever get that part out of people.
No.
And that's part of the psychology of money. Like it doesn't matter how long I could talk to them till I'm blue in the face of telling them like all of the logical reasons.
Yep.
It's a feeling, and you really can't fight a feeling with logic.
No, you can't. It's like telling me, Chris, don't go to the casino. Like, we can play cards here. It's like, it's not the same.
Yeah, it's not the same.
Not the same.
Yeah. I'm trying to beat the house.
I'm trying to beat the house, not live in the house. Good Lord. So getting back into, experiencing risk and learning from history, we talked a little bit about how in Australia, their depression or economic downfall, not downfall.
They never had a recession.
They never had a recession.
Or like 30 years.
In 30 years, which is really impressive. And we're going on a pretty long stretch here in America. Assessing risk tolerance. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. And again, it comes down to that you really never know who you are until you're in that situation.
Yes.
So there are a lot of like, and even I use them for my clients. It's like, if you were to experience a 30% downturn, what would you do? Yeah. And like logically it is, I'm going to buy more investments because now it's 30% on sale. And I think a lot of us will think about that and say like, if life was today what it is right now, everything's good. Just the market was 30% down for no reason.
Yep.
Then of course I would buy more. That's logical.
Yeah.
But the reason that the market's down 30% is because someone just crashed a plane into the Twin Towers. The reason it's down is because the stock market just crashed because all the housing just went away. Yeah. The reason the market's down 30% is because there is a virus that may kill 50% of the people on Earth.
Yeah.
And in those times, who are you?
Yeah.
You don't know who you are until you're in it.
Yeah, it's like a street fight. It's like I could be karate for 10 years, but if a guy runs up to you on the street and punches you in the face, it's like, you don't know till you know.
Yep, until you're in it. You really know who you are. And that's the hard part about it, right? And it's completely logical to say I'm going to do these things, but you don't know who you are till you're in that situation. And I don't. That's one of the nice things about, and it's difficult right now with like economics, every 10 years. And I'm not saying that you should do this, but like that's one of the nice things about like investing in crypto, is it is really a master's level crash course in can you stomach volatility.
Dude, yeah.
Like,
yeah. Me investing in like small cap stocks, I know a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Small to medium. It's like, oof, like 20, like it's funny. My dad trades stocks a little bit. Like he has a little portfolio and I have my portfolio. And this was like back in the day, like 2020 maybe, we'll say a couple years ago. And this was back when like small cap stocks were like all of the high, like it was like, it was just the talk of the town, And dad would be like, oh man, my stock went up $1 today, and it's, that's like 2%. Like, it's 1%, 2%. I'm like, oh, that's good, Dad, that's good. And he's like, how'd your stocks? I'm like, one went up 15%, 20%. And like I had one day, it was like went up like 8%. And I was like, I don't even roll out of bed for 10%. I don't even get excited about that. So it's like, it's perspective and learning from history and really understanding that, the highs are high, but the lows can be low.
Yep, and the very, very low. And those lows can take you out.
Yeah, the lows can take you out. And like you said earlier, it's important to stay in the game. And I know we're talking about stocks right now, but that's for really everything financially. You don't want to put yourself in such a financial position that it's going to affect, the next 5, 10, 15, maybe your whole lifetime to recover from that financial hit, So it's definitely important to just be careful, be thoughtful, hire someone who's dedicated their life about finance, to handle certain situations and give you tips. And nowadays it's so easy to get in touch with anybody. I mean, they can get in touch with you if they had any real serious financial concerns or questions, or if they, financial planning, like you said. But it's experiencing risk and learning from history and understanding the patterns that happen, not just on a chart, but in life. If you know that like, I never pack my lunch and I end up going out to lunch every day and dropping $25 compounded at 5 days a week, that's a day's work for that person. It's like, we'll recognize patterns and act on those patterns and try and beat those patterns and improve, and because nobody wants to work forever.
Yep. Yeah. And also I think another big thing, kind of going back a little bit from experiencing risk and then also maybe combining it a little bit with the allure of more, is there's so many people that if you look at them, like they're multi-billionaires, they're multi-millionaires, like statistically, they don't have to do anything ever again.
No.
How many of those people, unfortunately, a lot of those people end up going broke because they'll take on more risk. Like Elon Musk has almost gone broke multiple times now. Yeah. And I'm not saying that Elon Musk, like he's probably a bad example because he's made it through every time.
Yeah.
But at some point, if you keep on playing that game where you're putting everything versus like yourself, at some point he may lose and end up with really nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying like Elon, keep doing what you're doing, bro.
Please
like,
do.
Like,
Yeah.
We need you. We need you. Like get us to Mars. We need it.
Yeah.
But like, is that the game that you want to play? That's not the game I want to play.
Not everybody's built to win each hand and to bet everything each hand.
Every single time.
Every single time. Not a lot of people are built like that.
Yeah. There could be like the person who has the Maserati. You have all the trappings. Like you, quote unquote, you have won the game. But there's always somebody out there who's bigger and better than you.
Yep.
And if you're constantly trying to play against them, doesn't matter how high you go, there's somebody else out there who's going to get better, who's going to grow, who's going to become more rich than you.
Yep. That's true. That's true. That's like, again, I don't mean to harp on it, but play your own game. Stay in your own lane, play your own game. Don't be playing anybody else's other game.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's next?
Experiencing risk, learning from history. We kind of already talked about that a lot. Just learning from broader history. I think the final thing we should talk about is what are the characteristics, or maybe not the final thing, but close to it.
Close to the final thing. One of the last two.
What are the characteristics of a successful investor?
And I think this is probably one of the more important chapters. I mean, everything we talked about is obviously important, but this is the stuff that's not going to just get you to the finish line, but get you to the next race.
Yep. Yeah. And we've spoken about this at length. I think the biggest thing here is like try not to watch the market every day. Try not to day trade. Like if that's part of your game, then let's make that a small portion of it. But a lot of it is proper risk management, proper risk adjusted returns too, and focusing on that. If you look at so many of the stock market, like even last year for 2023, the S&P 500 was up like I think 16% or something like that. Very high. If you took out the top 8 companies, it was down.
Yeah.
8 companies out of the 500
out of 500
is what brought it up.
Yeah.
So like that's the part where it's very, very difficult. Like who are you to say, even if I gave you 500 choices, you're going to choose the right 8?
Yeah,
now imagine that
highly
there's
improbable.
even more than that. Like,
Yeah, 500. There's way more than 500 stocks. Yeah.
and you're going to choose those right 8? I don't know. And that's where it becomes very, very difficult. So I think that's where the characteristic of a long-term investor is someone who spends less than he makes and invests the difference. And they're focusing more on themselves, more on their behaviors, how much money they're spending, how much money they're making, rather than how am I going to get the biggest return right now?
Yep.
Because you are a lot more than your portfolio and what it's making right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. And the importance of patience.
Yep.
That's one thing with the rise of social media and TikTok and like short form content. We've really lost the skill to be patient. I know so many people, young and old, that are very impatient. And I think if you can learn one thing from today, it's just patience. Just be the person that can sit here, take a deep breath, calm, be patient, make good decisions. It's such an important key.
Rationality and patience. Like that's one of the biggest things I've taken away from like Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett.
Yes.
Rationality, patience.
The turtle over the hare, always.
But I understand the allure of I want it now and I want it right now, and it makes sense and it all sounds well and good, but unfortunately there are no like guarantees that you're going to get there if you want the right now. But there is a guarantee that if you spend less than you make, that and you just keep on investing the difference, that you will get to where you want. And even if you never do, you still are able to build a lot up, and you have built up the muscle of living off of less than you make. So you're never going to be in that situation of like everyone, like I'm basically destitute. I'm about to run out of money.
Yeah, definitely. And let's continue talking about the other characteristics.
Yeah, I think the next one would be making enough bets to make sure that you win.
Yeah.
So again, we've talked about this. Like, should I go all into stocks or all into bonds? Should I do private equity or should I not do private equity? And I always say the same things I say to you, I say to my clients is, should I do crypto or not? Does it have to be all or nothing? It doesn't. We make enough bets in order to try to win. That's the reason I'm big into like indexing. But if that's not your game, just make sure that you're diversified amongst enough things. So like even angel investors. So like some of the best investors in the world who like look at companies that have nothing and build them up.
Yeah.
They'll all say like 99% of what you invest in are going to go to nothing.
Yeah.
So only 1% is going to make it to the moon. Only 1% is going to be your next Facebook.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure you have enough money to bet across those 100 different things. And you need to have enough money to make sure that in case all 100 don't hit, that you have other money on the side.
Yeah. You don't want to bet the farm.
You don't want to bet the farm on any one decision because no one knows. And there's so many things outside of our control that you just can never control. What if someone decided to, again, like back to our Corona example, decided to short Corona because, I don't know, maybe the company was actually doing something terrible at the time. Yeah, the beer company. What if the company was doing something bad and they actually had like true information, and then due to circumstances completely outside of their control, a pandemic, and then algorithms seeing the word Corona too many times, wiped them out.
Yeah.
You could be right in every single way, but still be wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. The stock market is, it's obviously numbers, money, all that fun stuff, but a lot of it is psychology. A lot of it
Majority
is
of it's psychology.
Majority
I would recommend.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the final thing about what makes a successful investor is that you have to accept that you are imperfect.
Yes.
And be okay with having quote unquote failures. Because even if you do fail, you made a mistake, you purchased the wrong stock, you did something wrong, you bought in at the wrong time, it's going to bounce back. And more importantly, you have learned a valuable life lesson that's going to stick with you forever. And that's and reflecting on those lessons from your mistakes and learning and growing from them, that's going to be worth its weight in gold.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Accepting imperfections is super important. I think not just for money, but for everything. You got to accept who you are and improve on who you are. And when you do make an error, being in a financial standpoint or whatever, it's good to reflect on that.
Yep.
And to learn from that.
Not all aspects of life, right? Like there shouldn't be any aspect that you fail and be like, well, nothing to learn from there.
Nothing to learn there, yep. Yeah, I'm trying to remember this one quote. It was like, it went so much like, when you fail, you keep your head down and keep working, but when you succeed, you celebrate But really, when you succeed, you should still keep your head down and see, why did this go right? Why did I win this one? Was it because I had a technical advantage? Was it because I got lucky? Was it just flip of a coin? What was the reason? And sometimes you'll think you're better than you are, when in actuality you're just lucky.
Yep.
And that's when it gets dangerous, because you start thinking like, oh well, I'm invincible. I can do this. I just destroyed this trade. I'm amazing. Let me bet more, and then bam,
Yep.
you get taken out.
Is that old, when you win, you win, but when you lose, you learn. But like real champions, when they win, they continue to learn.
Yep.
Like there's a bunch of like, I used to be a wrestler, so a high school wrestler. So I knew that some of the champions, like after they would win tournaments, like most guys would go out, they party, they have fun.
Yeah.
Real winners, like after they won, they would go back and train.
Yeah.
They would go and they watch film, they go on a run, they continue to work because they know that there's somebody out there, no matter how good they are, that is coming after them.
Yep.
And that person's putting in the work.
Yep.
But with finances, it's a little bit more difficult because you can get lucky for so long. And just like Warren Buffett said, you don't know who's swimming naked till the tide goes out.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't know what other people's financial situations are. I think that's what brings us to the final, like, what is the most essential part of finances? Mm-hmm. And I think what that is self-awareness.
Yes. 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 Very much so. If you don't have self-awareness, you don't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm. No.
God, that's a good one.
Yep. I think that, again, it just comes back to like, what's the most essential part? It's just being aware of who you are in these situations, and then making your own financial decision making. Of course, you can work with somebody to help along with that, but it's your individual traits, your history, your investment strategy, your genetics. All of that make you uniquely you. So that's the reason that many people in our comments are like, why don't you just give us like rules? Like, just give me a rule. Give me that 50, 30, 20 rule. Like, people love rules.
Yeah.
And I'm here to say, like, those rules, they work in general,
Yeah.
but no one rule is going to work 100% for you.
Mm-mm. It's like, you can't claim to be 100% a unique person and then also say, like, I want a rule that fits every single person on the planet. It's like, no, you're a unique person. You're your own person, completely original. And there's a specific plan for each person. Your plan's different from my plan. And even if we're the same age, did the same money moves, we were the same, we grew up side by side, we still have different plans.
Yep.
We still have different plans because we're different people.
Different people all the time. And even once you realize you're a different person than everyone else and you have your own plan, after that, we have to be introspective on ourselves in order to gain behavioral mastery. So not only are we also have to self-reflect. And that's the hardest part for people, is to realize, like, this is where I failed, this is where I'm good at, this is where I'm bad at. And be okay with that.
Yeah.
And I'm pleased but never satisfied. I'm happy where I am, but I can still get better.
Yep. Pleased but never satisfied.
Yeah.
I like that.
And maybe it would be better said, I am where I am, instead of but, and I can get better.
Yes.
You make that distinction of there are two things that are happening simultaneously.
Mm-hmm. For a long time growing up, my whole motto was always be improving. Mm-hmm. And it was just something I always carried with myself. And I think that's something that all of us need to be better at, is just continue to improve.
Yeah. Yeah, continue to improve in all aspects of life. And I know we've talked about this again on past pads, but just because you're good financially, like, you can get better financially by focusing on other aspects of your life.
Yeah.
And like, there's this compounding effect of life, and the beauty of life is these areas that may not seem to be interconnected, they all are interconnected.
Yeah.
Once you're able to kind of see the path more broadly.
Yeah. No, 100%. I love that. So, in conclusion.
Let's get the action step, then we'll get to the conclusion.
Okay. What's our action step?
So, action step for this week is, I would encourage listeners to look at their own financial behaviors and identify areas that might be influencing you either emotionally or socially. Mm-hmm. And then let's try to see what we can do to break those behaviors. Is that what you want to continue to have in your life?
Mm-hmm. I.e., like, on Friday night, go out with the coworkers. Mm-hmm. They have a tendency to spend a lot on drinks and food and stuff. And it's like, and that's not part of my budget. So maybe I don't do that, or I skip it a few times, or something like that. Yeah,
I mean, my wife and I do a lot of travel, and last weekend we were traveling with our friends, and we were going out a lot to eat. And I know if I go out to eat dinner, I'm going to eat a lot. Mm-hmm. So before we went out, I actually pre-ate, so that when I got there, I wouldn't have to order a giant meal. Yeah. So it's going to be the same reason people pre-game in college. It's because you're trying to save money, and that was a conscious decision that everyone was doing, and it was socially acceptable. So let's try to find other ways that we can do it. I'm not saying freaking drink like a crazy person. I don't do that. But like,
Yeah. Yo, what's this pod about?
yeah.
Good
But
Lord.
like, again, it's growing the self-awareness piece. It's the most important part of your financial journey is becoming more self-aware, and then educate yourself on behavioral finance, because so many people are going to teach you about, the specific charts, the specific algorithms, specific this and that. But there is no specific anything that's going to get you to where you want to be. But focusing on yourself, on your behaviors, on what's going to get you to where you want to be, I think it's going to get the win. And if you read Morgan Housel's Psychology of Money, I couldn't recommend it enough.
Psychology of Money, that's the book to read. So with that being said, I hope they learned a lot.
I hope you did too.
I hope you took something from this and really at least take something and use it. Yeah. That's all we ask. We appreciate you guys listening, but if you don't use any of the things we're talking about, and if you don't benefit your life, it's a wash for you and for us.
Yep.
We really we want to be there for you like we wish someone was there for us.
That's the whole reason we do the podcast. The reason I started my company is because I wanted, if I needed somebody when I was younger and there was no one there. And that's what I'm trying to do for us, is to be that person that I needed.
Yep. With that being said, I hope you guys liked the video. If you're watching on video format, if you're watching on YouTube, like the video, subscribe. I noticed some of you guys are only watching on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. I had a friend of mine, and I was telling him about the background. I was telling him about it. He's like, YouTube, the podcast is video?
It's YouTube too?
Yeah, he's like, it's just on, I'm like, where do you watch? He's like, on Apple Podcasts. I'm like, oh. He's like, didn't even know it was on video. So I'm like, yeah, if you don't know, we are also on YouTube, the Fi Guys. And if you're on YouTube, we're also on all the other
You can see our beautiful faces, Dom's huge hair.
Yeah, I do have very poofy hair. It's funny. I've been fighting a haircut for the last, 10 podcasts. And maybe not next podcast, but the podcast after that, maybe.
Gonna come with a full buzz.
Maybe I'll get just dial in.
Shave it all off?
Shave it all off. The locks, though.
I know. It needs to be different. We can't have the same haircut.
No, that'd be weird. That'd be weird.
But yeah, we are on a bunch of different platforms now, so please, if you're on one and you like us, maybe subscribe to the other ones. You don't have to watch us on both platforms. It's the same damn thing. But, I think we will probably be putting out more stuff on YouTube here soon. We've talked about it at least. But yeah, I hope today you've learned a lot about the behavioral side, the psychology side, the money mindset side, rather than focusing on the specific dollars and cents.
Absolutely. With that being said,
remember the fee for the show.
Yep. Credit cards out.
Credit cards out.
Nope. Remember, the fee for the show is to tell a person, tell a friend, tell a family member. Any of those options work, or a stranger. Rep the Fi Guys. We love it. We love it. We love it. And it's much better to go on a financial journey when you have a friend or a pal to go with.
Yeah, bring someone with you along this journey. It gives you someone to bounce ideas off of. Maybe you can even talk about Dom's hair together. Whatever you guys want to do.
My hair is that good, bro. I can get you this haircut.
I don't think my hair is that curly.
Dude, we could... Maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
I got the curling, Joe. We can make it happen. But yeah, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the pod, and we'll see you in the next one.
Later.
Peace.
This video podcast is sponsored by Monzon Wealth. The content in this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. We do not endorse specific products or services. Past performance does not guarantee future results. The opinions expressed are those of the hosts and guests, not the podcast sponsor. It is crucial to consult with a qualified financial advisor or professional who can provide advice tailored to your specific needs before making any financial decisions, investments, or taking any other actions. If you are seeking specified help, you can reach out to Chris at monzonwealth.com.